Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. The Baloch Liberation Army has struck at nearly a dozen spots across Pakistan's Balochistan province. The BLA claims it has killed over 100 Pakistani soldiers. But first, let's look at how these attacks unfolded. These attacks took place on the 25th and the 26th of August. The 26th of August is the death anniversary of Baloch nationalist leader Akbar Bugti. Akbar Bugti, also known as Nawab Bugti, was killed by Pakistani security forces in 2006. Now, on the 26th of August, the BLA targeted an army camp and military checkposts across Balochistan. Their operations involved suicide attackers, explosives, and strategic blockades across the province. To give you an idea of the scale of these attacks, Balochistan is a Pakistani province the size of the Indian state of Rajasthan. If a separatist group has the ability to conduct attacks all across this province, what does this suggest? And more importantly, what do these latest attacks mean for Pakistan? Joining me to discuss this are author and geopolitical analyst Francesca Marino, Major General VK Dutta, Brigadier Neelesh Bhanot, and in the studio here with me is my colleague Aditya Raj Kaul. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Francesca, I want to start by asking you this. You authored this very, very interesting book, Bruised, Battered and Bloodied, the story of Balochistan. Tell us what these attacks, this spate of attacks in the last 48 hours actually mean for the BLA and its fight against the Pakistan military.
What does it mean? It means that Balochistan, the revolt in Balochistan, which Pakistan tried to crash for the past 50 plus years, is very much alive. I've seen the last statement of the Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, which is again saying, we will crush the revolt, no mercy for the rebels.
Right.
I like to remind that you quoted the death of Nawab Bugti. Nawab Bugti was killed because General Musharraf, who was then leading Pakistan, General Musharraf again had a policy of no mercy, no discussion with the rebel, let's crush the revolt. The death of Nawab Bugti actually was a turning point for fueling again the revolt. And the revolt is because Baloch are considered not even citizens. I mean, right. Pakistan is an occupied country.
Yes.
And again, a step back, it was an occupied country. It was occupied illegally by Pakistan.
Yes.
It was occupied with deceit. And since then, Pakistan has been behaving in Balochistan like colonizer. The things got worse when the Chinese stepped in with the China-Pakistan economic corridor.
Yes.
And this is the result. This is the result of years of occupation. This is the result of years of treating Baloch. I mean, Balochistan is the richest province of Pakistan in terms of economic resources, and is the poorest Pakistani region in terms of income, in terms of development. Talking of Wadar and Chinese, I'm talking of Baloch.
Absolutely.
There are
Francesca, I'm going to interrupt you here. I'll bring Aditya Raj Kaul in on this. Aditya, you've been tracking the Balochistan issue for News9 Plus very closely over the last 2 years. You've done some very, very hard-hitting stories on Balochistan, comparing it to Bangladesh of 1971. Tell us, over the last few hours, how significant have these attacks been? I mean, we've been seeing a lot of images on social media, but give us an idea of how grievous these are for the Pakistan military. You're looking at something like a dozen attacks all across Balochistan.
Well, Sandeep, what we are witnessing right now in Balochistan is unprecedented. Over the last 48 to 72 hours, one is social media propaganda, but this is not social media propaganda alone. We are seeing that major highways, at least 5 major highways, including the Quetta-Karachi highway, was blocked completely by the BLA armed militants. Apart from that, we had several attacks, including the Bela camp of the Pakistan Army, the Frontier Corps, that was attacked and was under siege for more than 18 hours. That itself can tell you the kind of damage that has been done. Now, ISPR and the Pakistan Army have only admitted that 14 of their soldiers have been killed and 23 civilians have been killed. In reality, the BLA claims that more than 130 Pakistani Army soldiers and Frontier Corps soldiers have been killed, and more than 40 civilians, mostly from Punjab, have been also eliminated. Now, there is an anger against the Pakistani deep state, which is the army and the ISI. There's anger against the Pakistani politicians and the government. There's also deep-rooted anger against people in Punjab. Because there has been a hegemony of the Punjabis and the Punjabi elite.
They're seen as occupiers in Balochistan.
They're seen as occupiers. And, of course, that international press is banned from Balochistan. So we do not witness a lot of reportage from down ground. But whatever we are getting are from common Baloch citizens who are sharing videos on social media, and of course the BLA statements, etc., that are coming out. This is unprecedented. It's unheard of. In the last 2.5 years, it's for the 3rd time that a Baloch female suicide bomber has come up and attacked. This time Mahal Baloch, there was Sumaya last time, and another person who had done this. So it is unprecedented. Imagine the level of anger and the kind of belief that they have. That clearly indicates that women are also coming ahead. These are educated women who want to be part of this so-called revolution to gain freedom from the Pakistani occupation. So I think problems are going to increase for Pakistan, even though they say that security operations are underway, not just in KPK but in Balochistan as well. And this also is a huge embarrassment for the new government of Shehbaz Sharif, leading, this government, which they say are on the same page with the Pakistan Army, and at a time when they had opened a new front in Jammu, where the Riyasi terror attack took place, Kathua, Doda, etc. We see another such attack taking place in Balochistan. So perhaps it's time for Pakistani deep state to learn lessons, but history tells us that common citizens, and especially the Baloch, are cannon fodder. So they do not care. The administration, perhaps, on the Pakistan Army will unleash a new wave of terror, enforced disappearances that are on, more than 60,000 people who are missing. And even today, there are many who have been kidnapped. There's a movement that's been running. There are women from Balochistan who have been protesting for days together. But of course, the Pakistani government has done nothing but lip service for them.
Lip service, and indeed, and now it seems the chickens are coming home to roost, Aditya, as you suggested. But I'm going to ask General Dutta this question. General Dutta, Aditya just mentioned the fact that there were attacks in Jammu as well over this year. In the last 8 months, we've seen about a dozen attacks in Jammu. Smaller hit-and-run attacks, small team operations. But what we are seeing in Balochistan is almost unprecedented. I mean, if you're looking at a dozen attacks over the span of 48 hours, what does this suggest to you as a military mind? Is this, for instance, can we say that this is the difference between an indigenous movement, which has very deep roots, the Baloch movement, as opposed to something that is more about pushing terrorists across the line of control and getting them to attack various targets of the kind that we're seeing in Jammu? Give us a perspective on what you think the difference between these two types of attacks are, and what this actually means for the Baloch Liberation Army.
Absolutely right, Sandeep. What is happening in J&K over the years, when we say that when did terrorism start in India? Terrorism started in India at the time of partition, when the Pakistan Army entered J&K in the form of Razakars and carried out the mayhem right up to the Srinagar airfield. And it is only once the Indian Army started pushing them back, we gave them back in the same coin. But the thing is that ever since then, Pakistan has continued pricking India in various forms at different times, at different intensities. They made number of attempts, you are aware, in 65 of Gibraltar when they wanted to annex J&K again by infiltration. But there was never a local movement which wanted to join Pakistan. If at all there was some movement in J&K, it was for Azadi, independence. Neither Pakistan, neither India. So Pakistan slowly and gradually tried to hijack that movement and to make it pro-Pakistan. What we have seen over the years, 71 ops, thereafter the Pakistan Army remained silent for almost, I will say about 13, 14 years, right up to 1983-84, when they started supporting the Punjab militants. And once that militancy was controlled by India, they then started supporting the J&K militancy, starting from end 80s. And then what we see today, even today, like the rise and fall, ebb and fall of the entire insurgent movement in J&K. So the difference in J&K is that it is not a homegrown movement. It is sponsored by Pakistan. It is supported by Pakistan. It is funded by Pakistan. Weapons are provided by Pakistan. Safe sanctuaries are provided by Pakistan. As compared to that, in Balochistan, it is a local, it is the homegrown movement to fight the oppression of Pakistan, the oppression what they have done, the Pakistan Army over the years, and firstly the annexation of Balochistan. Starting with the 1947 onward, the Pakistan Army entered Balochistan and almost annexed it. And thereafter, they have been trying to suppress the people of Balochistan. There are no facilities, no development, no nothing. Every Baloch is living below the poverty line. So when you take the combination of these factors, a common cause, a leader, and the desire to achieve something politically and for the people of Balochistan, that movement is now catching momentum.
That's catching momentum indeed. General Dutta, I'm going to interrupt you here. I'll bring in Brigadier Bhanot on this. He's been listening to us very patiently. Brigadier Bhanot, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Give us your take on these attacks. You've just seen attacks across the length and breadth of Balochistan, almost a dozen such attacks of all kinds. As Aditya mentioned, it's only the third time that a suicide bomber was used, a lady suicide bomber was used. You're seeing highways being blocked, military installations being attacked. What does this suggest a better reading of the BLA? Is the BLA today an army that can actually stand and fight the Pakistan military and the frontier corps and all of these? Or have they kind of made that progression from being just a hit and run force to a force that can take on militaries? What's your assessment based on these attacks that we've seen in the last few hours?
Okay, a small comparison with all the insurgencies which have taken place here in India. I've been involved right from Punjab, J&K, Op Rhino in Assam, then in Manipur, Nagaland. Never ever have we faced such a scale of attacks. You see, they have attacked the Gwadar port earlier in the past. There have been attacks, the kind of attacks which have taken place on Pakistan Army outposts, and plus now this. This is not a simple insurgency. You look at the ground swell now. They say this is the fifth wave of insurgency in Balochistan, like has been brought out earlier. This is not a simple insurgency movement which is supported by, like General Dutta said, it's not a foreign hand which is, stoking the fire. It is a groundswell. People are fed up. And it is, I would term it more as a civil war. If you look at the scale of the attacks on Pakistan Army, and you're right, the BLA right now has, in a way, declared war on the Pakistan Army by carrying out this kind of attack. Look at the scale of the attack. Look at the geographical spread of the attack. And look at the magnitude. Look at the kind. You have female suicide bombers to ambushes.
Right.
They have singled out Punjabis from the buses, which they say were Pakistani army men in civil dress. And they have singled and, killed them. So this is a declaration of war by the BLA as far as my reading goes.
Declaration of war, that's a very strong assertion, Brigadier Bhagwan. But I'm going to ask Francesca at this point. Francesca, what Brigadier Bhanot said, that this is actually a step up from just an insurgency or terror attacks. This is more a widespread phenomenon that can be called a declaration of a war of the kind that we saw in the 70s, in 74, in Balochistan. Are we at that point today with Balochistan? And more importantly, will there be a reprisal from the Pakistan military for these kind of attacks that we've seen in the last few hours?
I would quickly say something about civilians, that people in plain clothes does not mean civilians. The BLA clarified they were army personnel going back from vacation. And anyway, in Balochistan, plain clothes means also the so-called death squads.
Right.
People,
right.
Yeah, plain clothes who do the dirtiest jobs at army's behalf. BLA clarified also that they don't touch police or frontier corps. They have been imprisoned for a couple of hours and then released. Said this because it is important, because BLA has been declared an international terrorist group on behalf of China and Pakistan. But they do target only military targets.
Right.
This is a declaration of war. The war is going on since many, many years.
Yes.
The only point is Pakistan, the Pakistan army targets women, children, old people, any kind of living being on the soil of Sarfaraz Bugti, their chief minister, years ago said on record that genocide is the only solution for Balochistan. Right. And a genocide is going on. What are they supposed to do? Yes, they declare war. Yes, is a war which most probably will spread, because we should remember also, yes, Balochistan is the worst situation, but half of the country, well, 3/4, except Punjab, yes, 3/4 of the country are in revolt. Not like Baloch, not organized militancy, but they are in revolt. And what Pakistani government would use in the beginning only against Baloch, enforced disappearances, mass graves, kill and done.
Yes.
All this are used now also against Pashtuns, against Sindh, in the land of freedom, so-called Azad Kashmir, right, and in other places of the country, except, of course, Punjab. The BLA is organized. There's a suicide. Well, all the groups are organized. Yes. There's a suicide brigade, Majid Brigade. Yes. Of course, women are part of this, because another thing to highlight, women in Balochistan have the same rights and the same education of men. They are fed up because women are targeted.
Right.
Won't go into details of what happens to women, but I want to remember there's a woman, Marang, leading the political revolt. And yes, there are women also into the suicide squads.
Absolutely. But thanks, Francesca. But Aditya, now, Francesca mentioned the fact that the Baloch have been fighting for several decades. Women have been at the forefront of this struggle. But What kind of retaliation can we expect from the Pakistan military this time around, given the fact that they have really been shown up in a bad way? Attacks, wave of attacks across Balochistan, a dozen attacks. What are the possible retaliation options before the Pakistan military now?
I don't think that the retaliation would be announced. Firstly, it won't be done under media glare.
Right.
It would be something that is ongoing. It would include disappearances of people, activists, etc. A lot of them have been already arrested, legally or illegally, because that's how it happens in Pakistan. You are kidnapped, and years later it is discovered that you have been in army custody, and then either you are killed, you are released, or your body is discovered. So that's what happens in Pakistan. I feel that yes, there will be a revenge, because of course it's not just the Pakistani politicians that this is against, it is against the Pakistan army. And it seems like the Pakistan army has suffered unprecedented casualties.
Right.
For that, there will be revenge. And let's remember that Asif Ghafoor has been there for a long time. And we will perhaps see some kind of, armed attacks,
Right.
Both by the Frontier Corps as well as the death squads that Francesca mentioned, who are basically just hired goons or criminals using guns to silence any kind of dissent that happens in Balochistan. But the movement cannot be crushed. I think the movement is more active than it was ever before. Usually we see exiled Baloch people protesting in Germany, in Switzerland, all across the globe. But this time, women have risen. Thousands of women, youth protesting on the streets of Balochistan, across Pakistan, demanding justice. At the same time, there's this armed conflict. So Pakistan simply cannot ignore this.
Pakistan simply cannot ignore this indeed. With a dozen attacks in 48 hours, the Baloch insurgency is something else, as our panelists have just told us this evening. But thank you very much for joining us, Francesca, General Dutta, Brigadier Bhagwan, and my colleague Aditya Raj Kaul. Pakistan's Baloch bomb, it's of a level that's unprecedented, far from previous years, suggesting that it could be, well, a civil war. The Justice Hema Committee report has triggered off a storm in the Malayalam film industry. Multiple female actors in Kerala have accused co-stars of sexual abuse. Now, actor Mohanlal, president of Amma, has resigned. Now, previously, both director Ranjith and actor Siddique had resigned from their positions as chairman of the Kerala Chalachitra Academy and the Association of Malayalam Movie Artists, or Amma. This report and these allegations have shocked the Malayalam film industry and all of India, in fact. This also comes at a time when, apart from critical acclaim, Malayalam cinema has rocked the box office this year. The Hema Committee report has blanked out the names of the accused, but the women are now slowly coming forward and naming and shaming their co-stars. Will this movement make a difference in the working conditions of women in the Malayalam film industry? Is the SIT set up by the state government enough? This movement certainly cannot be limited just to the Malayalam film industry only. What about the other film industries where similar complaints have been reported? There was a Me Too movement in the Hindi film industry back in 2018, but that fizzled out. Will it be different this time around? Joining me to discuss this are Fauzia Fatima, cinematographer in both the Hindi and South Indian film industries. She's also spoken and deposed before the Hema Committee. And also joining me is Asha Jonas, an activist from Kerala. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Fauzia, I want to start by asking you this. This wave of, outrage that we've seen, which is translated into action, where actors are stepping down from Amma. There's Mohanlal has now resigned, it seems, from Amma. Do you see any good coming out of this finally after what happened in 2017? The trigger point for this entire Justice Hema Committee report? Or will this just be brushed under the carpet because there are so many powerful people involved?
I hope to believe that there are more number of people who are ethically minded, and this might empower them to speak out and do the right thing. Because so far it is the people in power who have been designing things. Now, hopefully, the power will be in the people who are ethical, and it might open up, especially the younger people, to talk. Most of the younger stars have been silent, and a change can happen if they open up and Prithviraj has started talking and he's been very favorable. So if more of the younger stars have voice their opinion and make their stands clear, then it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
It's
that
a great thing
indeed.
Yes, it could be the start of change. And I'm going to ask Asha Jomis this. Asha, this point that Fauzia made is the fact that the older stars seem to have been silent largely on this. But the younger stars, like Prithviraj, for instance, he's spoken out. He's come out very strongly. And I think you should appreciate the fact that someone from the industry, clearly, an established star has come out in support of the women who have raised these complaints against the stars of the industry for what they've done over the last couple of years. Is some good going to come out of the fact that stars like Prithviraj are coming out and speaking? Would you want more of the younger stars, the younger lot of the Kerala film industry who've actually led this renaissance that we've seen in Kerala films in the last decade or so? You want them to come out and speak?
Absolutely. It is not just Prithviraj, but Tovino also have spoken to the media yesterday. But we can see the Union Minister, Suresh Gopi, did the exact opposite to the journalist today. He was indeed lashing out at a journalist, and he did not comment on the latest update on the Hema Committee report and the special investigation team that has been set up by the government. So we need more actors to come out and say, give support for the female artists who are speaking out. We should also see more female actresses in the cinema industry. I mean, there are a lot of actresses in the cinema industry who didn't have to go through this, but yet there is a practice that exists in the cinema industry even today. Maybe that is just targeted at the junior artists. So we need to see more female actresses in the cinema industry like Nikhila, Nimisha, Aishwarya. There are a lot of actresses out there who are still keeping mum about the subject, and I think it would be really important and useful for all those women fighting for justice for them to come out and speak and give solidarity for those who are fighting.
Absolutely. Fauzia, why are the women not speaking out? The established actresses like Nimisha, Mihika, as Asha mentioned, why are they not coming out more strongly, and why does it always have to be Prithviraj and Tovino who they've spoken out, they've come out, but the actresses are largely silent? Why is that the case?
It is putting words in their mouth actually. They could be speaking out, and it probably is a fear of loss of opportunities in future, and they don't want to get sidelined, because in these times very few are speaking out, and we don't know about the producers, and we don't know about the distributors. There are so many in the industry who see to it that women are not coming into the mainstream. So it's not just Prithviraj and Tovino. There's a whole group of people who are fence-sitters and sitting, waiting, watching which way the tide will turn. So it's all right if women come out and speak, and if they don't, maybe it will take time. But then it's a whole bunch of mechanism which is at play, and in future it is the silent ones now that they'll flow whichever the side the money is. So that is the whole the core issue in this case. Who's speaking, who's not speaking. It depends on
it's a conspiracy of silence, with a lot of fence sitters indeed, as it has been in the past. But Asha, in the past as well, in 2017 we heard that absolutely horrific case from the Malayalam film industry of this what this leading movie star is alleged to have done to one of his co-stars, and which is the trigger point of the Justice Hema Commission report. In the Hindi cinema also you've had a Me Too movement, which then very quickly petered out. How important do you think is this for the other film industries, for people in other film industries, especially in the South? There have been a few isolated complaints, but there's been no movement of the kind that we've seen with the Justice Hema Committee report. Do you think that this committee report and the impact that it's had on the film industry, that could actually trigger off similar movements in the other film industries, especially of the South?
Absolutely. And for that, there should be a political will, a social will, and a solidarity among the female artists to come forward and form something like WCC. Now that we have set an example in Kerala, thanks to Parvati, Fauzia, and all the founding members of WCC, they have set an example now. They have shown the women in cinema across the world, in fact, that this is a possibility, that this path, you don't have to protest in the street, you can use the legal channels, you can get the government to set standards in a film industry or any working place to make sure that it's a safe working place for women. And they have, it is not just women in cinema. In fact, the media in Kerala has been extremely supportive of this movement, in spite of having powerful men on the other side. They have dared to fight for these women, especially news anchors in Asianet, be it 24 News, be it Manorama, Madhubhumi. They've shown strong commitment to these women and not to those men. So that is also an important factor. I do not know if this is how the industry works in North in terms of media supporting these kind of issues when there are a lot of powerful men on the other side. And then there has been a lot of academicians who have come out and published a lot of articles about it. There's been a lot of activists who have worked on this. There are a lot of RTIs that has been filed. So you have to understand that this report right now came out as a response to an RTI that was filed by a journalist. But I think more than hundreds of RTIs was filed before this particular RTI. And so it is the collective will of the society, I must say, that led to the success of the Hema Committee, setting up of the Hema Committee, and then the publishing of the report at this point. So if you ask me, will it be replicated in other states? It will take the collective will of the society to ensure that they want their women to be safe at their workplaces, not just in cinema, across all workplaces.
The state government, what has been the role of the state government in the last couple of weeks? They've set up an SIT. I think they've done all the right things. They've set up an SIT. They got a lot of women police officers involved in this. Do you think that is a kind of way forward when it comes to handling, cases of assault, harassment against women, not just in the film industry, but across in, safety of women in workspaces?
Absolutely. But when you look at what happened in Kerala, sometimes people wrongly assume that we had like a very proactive government which took action. Absolutely not. It was the public pressure that led the government to take each and every step in each and every stage of this ordeal. Because it was not that even when the actress was abused, the government, the head of the government, the CM Pinarayi Vijayan came out and said there is no conspiracy. Then he had to retract his statement because the police came up with the investigation and the media was very strongly motivated to pursue this case. And we had prime time debates on this topic for almost 2 to 3 weeks. They did not discuss any other topic. They really wanted to bring out the truth in this. So like I said in my previous answer, it is the collective will of different people from different sectors of the society that led to the setting up the special investigation team. See, the report came out in 2019. If the government was so committed to protecting women in workplace, it would have set up this investigation team in 2019. It did not do that. Now the government know that it is going to go beyond its control and there is nothing it can do because Ranjith had to resign, then Siddique had to resign. And the allegations against Siddique was very serious because it was an actress who said she's been groomed since she was under 18. So this is, the allegation was that she was being groomed when she was 17 or something. And then the actual assault took place when she was 20 or something. So when such serious allegations come to the public domain, and in a state like Kerala, everybody is very politically active, it becomes very impossible for the government to not take the action. So it is because of the people in Kerala. I want to repeat that again and again. It is only because of the people in Kerala have been strongly protesting against this that the government was forced to take an action. And of course, there has to be the primary, agency, primary organization that has to fight this at the forefront. That has always been WCC. And with the media, there's been a lot of lawyers like Harish Vasudevan and a lot of other people who've been fighting for this for a very, very long time. That has led to the, setting up the special investigation team. So it's not just the government.
It's not just the government.
Forced to take the action.
Government was forced, Asha, and it always helps to do something like this when elections are around the corner. So the politicians, possibly survival instinct kicked in with the elections just a year and a half away. But absolutely right, what you said, that civil society, the pressure brought by civil society onto the government to force them to set up that SIT, which is what they seem to be doing now, walking the talk as dictated by civil society and the media in Kerala. But my last question to Fauzia is that, Fauzia, we were talking about the impact on other states as well, where you have, especially in the south, there have been isolated complaints from the Tamil film industry, the Telugu film industry, Kannada as well. But there has been no such big movement of that kind in any of these industries. As an activist in the Kerala film industry, how would you help these women from other such industries to take their fights forward?
There are a smaller number of people who have, women who have come together. It's not a large number.
Right.
And it's still, it's quite divided. I mean, it's a kind of cocoon, and we hope that with all this talk, they will reach out, and as much as possible, we are trying to reach out also. Personally, I am, and it is probably a change happening in Kerala might set off change in other places.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
See it in action. See more women in the workplace, more women in cinema, because people have been. I have been told that, Fauzia, nobody is going to call you and give you work. This has been the attitude, how much ever you're trained and you're experienced, there is no will to accommodate women into the medium itself. Cinema belongs to me. Cinema belongs to everybody who wants to, express in that. Yes. So how come a few bunch of people or men are deciding and marking the boundaries and keeping people out? So let the change begin here in Malayalam. And let that be a trendsetter for the rest of the country to take note and actually adopt. It is possible to do. Definitely in Bombay, you do see last 10 years more women in different departments like assistant cinematographer, production design. There are a lot of women who are working. A lot of directors are working. So hopefully change will happen.
Hopefully change will happen. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Fauzia, for highlighting that point. And Asha, nice speaking with you all. The fact that Kerala, while the nation is shocked by what's gone on in the Kerala film industry, there's lots to celebrate about the way civil society has come together. Lawyers, the media, journalists have come together to take up the cause of these women who are fighting these established cabals in the Kerala film industry. And hopefully this is the kind of change that could spread to other film making societies across the country, in the South and in Bollywood perhaps. That is the story that we'll be looking at very closely as the Malayalam film industry goes through tremendous change once it's faced with this Justice Hema Committee report and the fallouts of this report on an industry that seemed to have gotten its mojo together after many years.